Welcome back. We are talking about animal feed safety, and let's get right into it and continue.
Thank you. Yeah, let's continue.
And speaking of the cost, most of the time there's usually a challenge of animal feed costs just very high, and you find very many farmers saying, now I can't be able to buy this feed for my animals. So what other way can a farmer evade such a challenge when it comes to animal feeds?
There are some ways in which the farmer may not be able to avoid, because not many farmers would have all that they need to feed the animals. Many of the ingredients are bought, many of the farmers are buying, even that grass, even that hay, even that napier, they may not be producing locally. So if the persons who are supplying that are, for whatever reason, economically are not able to supply at the cost that you are able to feed your animals, it becomes very, because there are very many factors that we may not be able to discuss here that affect the cost of feed. Right from what we are talking about, the fodder, and because you can say you feed them out to graze, but you have land to graze the animals? You may not have land to graze the animals. What is the quality of that graze that you are grazing the animals? Is it good quality? It may not be. So if you are supplementing, and if you are producing economically, you may need to supplement with that daily meal or what, you don't have control of all the factors coming into the costing of that commercial feed. So there are very many factors that may affect that, and like we said, plan. If you see, you have done your background check. If you see you are not able to do it, sometimes it's best not to do it than to keep the animals that you are underfeeding, because that is cruelty to animals. Or again, maybe keep the animals that are not giving you enough of the produce to be able to recoup your investment. So you have to really do, and my advice to farmers, it's good to do your books and do your books well. So that you know, because many farmers may not know whether they are making a loss or a profit, because they don't keep their books. And maybe one investment, I'm employed, I'm a teacher, and I have cows. I don't know, maybe my salary is feeding the cows, so the cows are not making any money, but I'm sustaining them because another enterprise is supporting the other enterprise. If you're able to have enterprises that you can balance, well and good, but sometimes you find that you're going at a loss, but you may not notice because the other one is supporting the other one. So keeping books, and anybody can keep books, including that audit, because you know how much you bought that maize for the chicken. You know how many eggs it gave you. Of course, sometimes we keep the animals for social purposes, but if you're keeping for business, then you need to keep books. If it is those chicken where you keep because it is our culture to keep chicken, and you are looking at it as a hobby, then you may keep. But feeding the animals well, it's important for animal welfare, feeding them the right feed and the right quality and safe.
All right, and now, how does a farmer ensure that there is enough attention given to animal feed safety? What is it that a farmer needs to do?
One of the things, like maybe we said earlier, where are you sourcing this? Because it is the responsibility of the farmer to ensure that the feed they feed to the animals is safe. So how are you sourcing this feed? Where are you sourcing? Is it a safe source? Like what we said, is it contaminated? Does it have those pieces of metal that may be fed to the animals? Are you getting hay which half of it is weeds, which is not nutritionally beneficial to the animal? Number two, when you bring in your feed, whether it is a commercial feed or it is the feed that you are getting from the fodder, how do you store this feed? Are you storing it in a way that it is easily to be contaminated? You are keeping it in the same store where the animals are, so they are defecating on the same. Or you are keeping it where the dogs can access and the cats and other animals that are going to contaminate your feed. Two, if it is a dry feed, whether it is the hay or it is the commercial feed like a dairy meal, are you keeping it where it can likely get wet and moldy, because that is a feed safety issue? Are you keeping it in a store where you are keeping other agricultural chemicals, so that you have a fertilizer here and you have an animal feed here, and somebody may inadvertently choter the fertilizer instead of the feed and give to the animal. So how are you storing your feed so that it doesn't get that contamination? When you are feeding, how clean are the, let's say, your stores where you feed? Are you just throwing it anywhere? So the issue of the harvesting, where you are sourcing it, the issue of how you are handling it, how you are storing it, make sure you don't store it next to, or you keep for so long that it gets its expiry and it gets moldy and it gets, even loses quality. So a farmer, these are responsibilities of a farmer. Of course, there are the government agencies that can work with the farmer for extension to educate the farmer. So if you are suspicious, where I'm sourcing my feed, I'm not sure, go to the government office near, go to the animal production office there, go to the veterinary office. Why is it that my animals are not doing so well when I'm feeding this feed? Seek to understand so that you are able to do the right thing. That's what maybe I would want to say. The farmer has a responsibility to seek knowledge and seek understanding, and also to do what they are advised to do. And also, if it is a feed you have bought, there are indications maybe of how to store and how to use. If you don't store and use properly, then it's likely to affect the animal negatively.
All right, and now let's move on and look at the animal. Is there a standard set for a domesticated animal, the environment that they need to be living in, the standard set for maybe the ones that the animals that we have at home? What is the set standard that we need to follow?
Okay, the principle would be, is that animal safe? Is that animal in an environment that is not harmed or injured? That is, and we have a law, it's called the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, where the animal, we know that the animal has feelings. So we should make sure that we don't affect the animal. It is fed well. The environment is such that it is not harmed or injured. It is not left to the elements. When it rains, it's rained on. When the sun is so hot like this, it's left in the sun. So the farmer should take care of that. The animal should be allowed to interact with the animals of its own species. How would you feel if you are staying all alone in an island? So the animal of essence should have others of its own species. You know, sometimes we keep one dog, one cat, but the animal has feelings.
Yeah.
It should be allowed to experience or to show its natural tendencies, its natural behavior. If you keep a pig in a floor like this, a pig's natural behavior sometimes is to dig and root. It's good to allow it to do that. A chicken's natural behavior is to perch. If you keep it in a place where it cannot perch, you are abusing that animal. You're not treating it right. So a farmer should look, this is maybe a different and wider topic, but the farmer should ensure, give it the right food. You don't give a cat or chicken feed. That is not its feed. Give a cat or cattle feed, give a chicken feed. So, and mostly we know this, but if it's something that you don't understand, is this fit for this? Then there are the professionals that you can consult.
All right, now let's move and come back to the animals' feed safety. When it comes to handling of animals' feeds, maybe you've come from work, you want to give the chicken the feed, you just come, you go and scoop and you just throw. So what is the best way of handling animals' feed when it comes to this poultry, when it comes to livestock and the rest?
Okay, what I've said again, the basic principles is one, when you look at animal feed safety, it is integrated right from the production to the feeding to the storage and all that. So when you're coming to feed, you didn't get that feed and that chicken just then. So you have planned, when you got your chicken, you know where I'm sourcing, how I'm storing, and how I'm feeding. Are you storing properly? That one, I think we have discussed about that.
Yes.
So when you come to feed, you look at that feed. Maybe the feed got contaminated while you are away. So you look just the physical appearance of the feed. Maybe the feed got wet when you are away. So it is not safe for the animal. Then where are you feeding the animal? Are you just throwing feed on the floor, where maybe it will even eat half of the food and the rest will be lost in the soil? That is food loss. That is loss for you as a business person, because that food is going to waste. So you look, how are you feeding? The animals are, like we said, they should be treated well. So clean containers for feeding the animal or for watering the animals. So you should look into those things, not just come and get feed. You didn't check the feed. Maybe there is a dead rat in the feed, and it may have impact on the health of the animal, and of course maybe on the safety of the product after the animal. So you don't just feed. It's planning right from the beginning. When you decided to keep that chicken, you have looked at all these things. So later on it will be just monitoring that you are maintaining your program of what you have said that you are going to do. So you apply good agricultural practices in the production of the feed, good hygiene practices in the handling. If it is the manufacturing, we believe that the manufacturer is using good manufacturing practices, and there are regulations that ensure that they do that.
All right. And now, animal feed, in terms of the safety in Kenya, are we really very serious about animal feeds? Or because food safety, of course, has taken over everything. Most of the time it's being discussed. So when it comes to animal feed safety, how are we approaching it? Are we embracing it? Is it something that needs to continue being spread all over every county? Is it something that is being followed really?
Yes, it is. Of course, like you have said, we are human beings, and maybe the first priority we look at is human health. But we also have said and agreed that animals are they have feelings, they are beings, and they should be taken care of. So for a long time, many people, except maybe for people who have very high value animals, because those ones make sure, because you don't buy a cow for 800,000 and you joke with it. So, but for many people, we may not look seriously at animal feed. For example, think about it. If you have some maize that seems to be rotting, what normally do? We give to the animals. When you have, like what you said, some ugali that you had kept and it's starting to grow moldy, what do?
Give it
to the chicken or to the dog.
Yes.
Which is not right, because they have their health and they are affected the same way. So of essence, if the feed is not safe for you, I'm not talking of quality, because it may be hard, so you not eat the hard ugari, but it is still safe. So you can give to maybe to the animal. But is it providing the nutrition that you want? Because maybe the ugari is just having the starch, the energy bit, but it is not having the protein bit or the vitamin bit. So you need also to add that, even if you are to give that ugari or that. So you look at what is it that you are feeding. The animal should be taken care of, because you are using the animal. It could be in the wild and it will not bother you, not bother it. But now you have kept it for your benefit. So it's an investment. So you should invest in it. We have talked of maybe the housing, and that you should also invest in the feed that you're giving this animal, in the water, in the housing, in its health. It needs to be seen by a vet. So you invest in totality. You look at it. Farmers should look at farming as a business, but unfortunately, many of our farmers may not be looking at it like that, because many farmers are not keeping these animals, really looking at it from an economic point of view. But they should look at it, at that animal you are keeping, you are investing in it. So you should get a return on investment. So you should look at always, what am I gaining? Unless you are keeping it maybe just to be happy about it, but then you invest. When you pay a membership in a certain club, you may not be getting any economic benefit from it, but you are investing because you are getting social benefit from it. So if an animal, if it is for social benefit, invest.
All right, and as we are nearing the close, for a person or a young person who has just started rearing livestock and poultry, and they would want to maybe just they would want to start this kind of farming, what would you advise them to do when it comes to animal feed safety?
Again, like I repeat, like I've said, any business that you start, whether it is electronics or it's farming, you have to really understand what it takes. Even if it means maybe going back to investing in education in that. There are agricultural institutions or farmers training centers that will train you how to keep that well, right up to what kind of housing you need, how to source your animals. So when you are sourcing these animals, just like when you don't buy a car and you don't go with a mechanic. You should go with a mechanic. So when you go to buy that cow, go with an animal health service provider. Let them check this animal and tell you this animal, because somebody can sell you a 15-year-old cow because it is looking healthy. It doesn't have long production life. So get somebody who will look at it. Get educated by the agencies that can educate you, whether private or government, what kind of feed you need for that particular kind of animal. And then you find out, within my locality, where am I going to be able to get that feed? And do I have enough money? For example, let's look at a broiler. A broiler, you don't get any money back until you sell it. So if it is those 35 days that you are keeping it, so you know you have enough to feed that for 35 days. You have the water, you have the medication. If it is, let's say, layers, you can say you are investing for those 4 or 5 months before it starts laying, then the eggs can grow back. So you have to look at that. How much do I need to have invested? Just like if you keep a store, you look at a stock, maybe it may not peak. So the next 2 months rent for the house I'm getting elsewhere, I'll have to save that. So in farming, the same thing. You have to look at the whole thing. And I would say, if you need to go back to go to a farmer's training college near you, those ones, it's not like a college where you go full time. Or if you need to go to the agriculturist or animal production officer in your area to be able to really understand. We have designs for building of animals. We have feed formulations if you would want. So use after all you pay the tax, you pay the salary. So use them. Get to understand so that you don't get, many people unfortunately get into farming. And if there is any business that can last, is farming, because people will always eat. So it's not like something that is going out of fashion. People will always eat. So people can live on farming, and it is the government is encouraging people to go into farming because we need food, but you have to really look at it as a business. Maybe previously us and our parents were not looking at it in that way as a business. What am I getting from it? But if that is what is going to employ you, I think it's important to do a feasibility study, just like you do for any business. Yeah.
All right, and now your parting shot, what would you want to leave us with so that at least farmers out there can be following in terms of animal feed safety?
It is a responsibility of the person owning the animal to ensure that the feed you give the animal is safe. Animals are animals with feelings. They are beings with feelings. They should be taken care of well. So feed the animals well. Don't give them the leftovers. Don't give them what is not safe. So feed them well. Take care of the animals. Invest in your feed. Check where you are getting this feed from. Get to understand from the service providers around you what is in your area, because different areas have different feed resources, and the feed resources don't have to be one. You don't have to use maize all the time. If your area there is cassava, and you can use cassava. If your area there is millet, and you can use millet. So find out what is in your area so that you can use the resources that are there at a cost benefit level that is going to benefit you when you are doing farming as a business. So farmers take care of the animals because they take care of you. If you cannot take care of the animals, let them be like maybe the elephants out there, which God takes care of. But as long as you are keeping it and you are keeping it commercially, feed it well, take care of it well. That, I think that would be my parting shot.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us your insights and also encouraging farmers on the importance of animal feed safety. All right, we've come to the end, and you, as you've heard it, you need to make sure that at least at the end of the day, when you look at food safety for yourself, you also look at animal feed safety for your animal. And the way you take care of your animal, that's the same way they'll take care of you. We've been speaking with Dr. Joyce Thayer, who has been in the Ministry of Agriculture for 35 years and just spanning all through and being under the Directorate of the Veterinary Services, and she's just been giving us the right steps to use when it comes to animal feeds, when it comes to livestock, poultry, what you need to do. And if you are also trying to start a farming business, what you also need to do. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. We've come to the end, and see you next time, same place, same time, right here on KTN Farmers TV.